Do you have passion, or are you just chasing a ghost? Let's talk about it today on StaRrow. So anyways, why am I bringing this up? Passion is an important topic in this generation, and it's been an important topic since the beginning of humanity. Who doesn't want to live out their passion? And living out your passion is something that is very profound. It can be the greatest feeling that you could ever experience, and it could lead you to the life of your dreams. And who wouldn't want that? But then there's also the other side where you could follow your passion and then your bank account is passionately empty. And some people know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying that. But the heart of this video is going to actually cover, what does it really look like to follow your passion? How do you know something is your passion? And is it worth it to go after your passion? And what does it actually look like to go after your passion? Now, as somebody who's embarked on this journey as of recently, right? I may not have the biggest wealth of knowledge to share with you, but there are countless of others before us who have actually went after their passions and have succeeded, right? There's also countless others who have failed. Now, I think it's best that we talk to people who have succeeded about this, right? I mean, chances are, there's going to be other people, who can give you this answer, give you that answer. But I'm going to pull from three different people. As a matter of fact, they're all named Steve. So I'm going to pull from the three Steves. We're going to see what the three Steves are going to tell us about passion. And then we're going to have a little discussion about what I think they said and, how does that apply to myself and how does that apply to others? And let's see what we can get out of it. All right, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the first Steve here. So give me one moment. We're going to pull him up, right?
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard. And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that...
Steve is really hitting it on the head right here. For those of you who don't know, which, I know most people do know, you should know, this is the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, the founder of the company that makes the famous Macintosh computer. I'm using one of them. Founder of iPhone, the phone that everybody that prefers, basically. I mean, not that Androids are bad or anything, but, very popular electronic devices. But Steve really hit on the head with something here. Passion is about relentlessly pursuing something even after you fail. And it's doing it to a point where it's on the border of insanity, right? Now, I'm not saying, go crazy and, get into a mental health hospital. But essentially, he's really hitting it on the head here. You've got to continue to fail. That's the other thing, too. Failing is normal in finding your passion. Everybody who's been great at something, no matter how big or how small they were, they failed. And you have to suck before you get good at something. So just because you found your passion and you tried it once and it didn't work, that doesn't mean you stop. You have to continue to keep going. But if you do fail and you notice you don't want to continue, chances are you were not very passionate about it.
Ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't. Oftentimes, it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people, and you've got to figure out how to.
So true. But Steve Jobs is right, guys. I mean, honestly, you're going to have to continue to keep going, even when it sucks, because it is going to suck. But the question is, do you stop when it sucks, or do you continue? You can only reap the benefits if you continue, but you do have to be a good judge of character as to know, when you want to stop. Now, with that being said, right, so he said talking about having the right people, which we're going to talk about in a second. What I really want to hone in on is when he was talking about, the failure part. A lot of people believe pursuing their passion is going to make them rich. I want to clear that myth. Just because you are pursuing your passion, you may earn $0 doing it. And are you okay with earning $0 going after your passion? Because I feel like that's the first question you should ask yourself. Before I embark on this journey, am I okay making $0? Because, guys, I know you see people living your best dreams out there on social media, right? But a lot of the times, you're starting with scraps, you're starting with nothing, right? And are you okay with the idea that, hey, just because I am doing this and because I love this thing, you're not going to make money? How many musicians do we see out there who gig at these random bars who are not professional? Nobody knows who they are, but they're still there playing. Or people who play pickup basketball games or pickup football games at recreational centers or tennis or whatever you may have it. These people who continuously do these things even though they don't make a dollar. And I'm only highlighting that because, let's be honest, money is a very important thing, and it's something that people look forward to. So if you're going to tie your passion to a dollar sign, then chances are you are already going to fail. And, Steve talks about the right people being there, right? Being a talent scout. Well, he was talking from his CEO hat, right? Which not all of us are CEOs. But what I will say is that finding the right company is going to be super important. Finding others who are also passionate in what you're passionate in, because you need the inspiration. But not only do you need the inspiration, you need the support. Having a mentor, somebody who might be even doing it to a level that you want to get to, because that's the best way to stay inspired. It doesn't make sense that you're passionate about X, Y, and Z, and your closest friends have none of the same passions, because it's easy to get discouraged, and you're going to find yourself saying, am I really doing something? And it's not that you're wrong. It's just that the people you are around do not share the same interest. So they're not as passionate about it as you are. So you might feel like you're talking to a brick wall when you're bringing up certain conversations to people. They don't mean you anything bad. They don't mean any harm, but they're just not as passionate about it. And that's just a hard pill to swallow. Now, the whole point I'm trying to get out of this, guys, is that try, try. And if you do fail, just keep going, right? And like he said, sane people quit. It's the people who are really passionate that just keep going. So keep going, and understand, if you don't make a dollar, it's not a failure. It's just you're doing what you love. You got to see it that way. That I can't stress that anymore. But anyways, so that was from Steve Jobs. Rest in peace to him. So now we're going to go to the second Steve. So let's get to the second Steve here real quick. All right. Let's see here.
Your gift will make room for you. Now, what is your gift? It's the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your gift. Quit running away from the gift. Your gift will make room for you. Stop trying to be something you ain't gifted at. Nobody asked you to go down here and study to be a dentist, and you ain't really good at that. Quit going down to the church trying to sing. You can't sing. Now, just because they let you sing at the church, you're not finna, anybody else finna go with this. Because, come as you are, the Lord loveth a cheerful giver, all that. We don't apply scriptures out here. You come to the Apollo and you can't sing, we got something for your ass up there.
So, anyways, for those of you who don't know who that was Steve Harvey, the famous comedian and famous TV show host that is, I believe, on Family Feud these days. And Steve, he said something in his own way, in his own little comedic energy, and I love it, by the way, love comedy. But Steve was essentially sharing with us that, we do have gifts, right? And why am I even showing this, right? Because Steve just said, you got to try and fail again. But the reality is this, guys, it doesn't matter who you are. The first time you do something, you're not going to be that good at it. Now, take that into consideration. Just because you're not that good at it yet, you can still be way better than the average. You can do something better than most people, even though your first time you try. And if you notice that you're better than most people at something, chances are that's a sign that you need to continue down that journey. Now, don't quit your job, right? Don't quit your job. But sometimes we have a mindset that we want this one thing, or this is the one thing we're passionate about, but we refuse to listen to what the real world is telling us. And it's okay. You got to be able to listen to the real world sometimes, because sometimes the real world is trying to help you find yourself. And for those of you who do believe in God or who do go to church, sometimes God will put you in situations where you're going to actually stumble upon your gifts, and you're going to realize, hey, I'm actually not that bad at this. That's usually a sign that that's where you need to keep pushing, because usually when you're not as bad at something, it's easier to want to do it more and more, because people like to do things that they're good at. Now, take like Usain Bolt, for example. A lot of people don't know Usain Bolt wanted to play cricket and soccer, right? Which he did to some degree play some soccer. But let's be honest, he was world class when it came to those feet and that running, right? There was nobody beating this man in the world at that. And he didn't want to do it. His dad actually had to put him in it. And it was his cricket coach who told his dad about how fast he was. But look, just because Usain Bolt might not have ended up as a cricketer or as a soccer superstar, he still became the greatest at the thing that he ended up being really good at. So, and he's still successful. I'm sure if you were to ask him and he looks back on his life, yes, he probably wishes he would have done those other things, but he wouldn't be in this position that he's in. And there's many other examples, but find your gift, right? I don't just want you to be passionate and be blindly passionate. Be passionate, but have wisdom. And I think that's what Steve Harvey was trying to say in his own little way. Like, you're going to find stuff that you just naturally gravitate to. And sometimes listen to what other people are saying. It might not be your family or your friends, because they might have a bias. But if the outside world keeps telling you that you're good at X, Y, and Z, and it keeps happening constantly, and you're not even trying, you may need to turn your eyes into that direction. All right? That's all I'm saying. So anyways, the last Steve. I actually don't have a video, but this is a quote by Stephen King. Stephen King is a famous author, for those of you who do not know. And what I loved about what Stephen King said here was, if you have passion, go for it, and damn the critics. Guys, that's loaded. That's so simple, so easily put. The bottom line is, guys, is that when you pursue your passion, you're going to have naysayers, right? It doesn't matter how successful you are. We all, to some degree, have not been a fan of something that somebody has done, and in their own right, they are great at the very thing that we're criticizing. Everybody's had something bad to say about a Kevin Hart comedy special, but yet he's the highest selling comedian, right? Everybody's had something bad to say about, these musicians and the music they put out, yet they're professional artists. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to say that there aren't other people that are talented, but the point is that I want you to understand that just because you found something you're good at and because you have a passion, do not expect everybody to align with you. And that goes back to why I said find the right people to be around, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be naysayers. You've got to be okay with people not liking you. You might even have the people in the very thing that you're passionate about be against you. You can't let that stop you. You've got to keep going, and you've got to find ways around it. If that's something you really love. Now, be careful, make wise decisions, but, just don't break the law. But all I'm saying is just understand that you are going to have critics and naysayers. Even Stephen King has written books. He's a prolific author. I'm sure he's probably read critics tear up his books into shreds. I mean, you filmmakers make these films. Adam Sandler, for example, is one of the biggest movie comedians of all time, but Rotten Tomatoes loves to throw a green tomato at his movie every single time, but people were still buying the tickets. So with all that being said, guys, there's always going to be room for criticism. It's always going to happen. It doesn't matter how high up the ladder you climb. You're going to get criticized. I just want you to understand that that's a part of the chasing your passion. Now, with all that being said, I want to leave you with this final sentiment right here, right? I don't know who wrote this quote, but I saw it somewhere and I was like, man, you know what? That's worth sharing. Be passionate with your work. Be emotionless with your decisions. A lot of the times, your passion is going to make you emotional, meaning that you may make decisions that are not the wisest. What does that look like? You quitting your job when you weren't supposed to. You spending money on something that you didn't need to. And mind you, we all make bad decisions. So I'm not saying be perfect in your decision making or don't have any emotion, but just understand that you have to always be in a place of doing what you love to do, but making it make sense, right? Uh, you do hear those stories of people being homeless and then the rags to riches, but if we're being honest, those people are very far and few in between. Most people just grinded their way slowly, through it. A lot of people had a job, they did the job while they did their thing on the side, and then they waited for the thing on the side to get a little bigger and a little bigger until they slowly got off their job. So be wise, don't be emotional. Understand that it may not happen overnight, but if you continue to keep doing it and you continue to work harder, chances are it'll be a day closer to you being able to do it full time or do it however you please in the way that you want. But that's really what I wanted you guys to gather. Be smart, be discernful, be wise, be emotionally balanced, be emotionally stable. And remember, at the end of the day, if you love what you're doing, it's not against the law. Just understand that that in itself is purposeful and inspirational to somebody else. So just because it may not be going the way you want it to go, you might be inspiring somebody else, because we all are a reflection of ourselves, and we reflect who people want to be and who they don't want to be. Hence the criticism. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of StaRrow. I can't wait to come back and share some time with you. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and like, comment, and subscribe. Is there anything that you've been passionate about or that you've been concerned about trying? Let me know in the comments below. Have a great day.